Hello Hambini fans and welcome to another episode of Hambini Reams. Now, some of you probably are members of Facebook forums where they go around buying bargain products from AliExpress, Alibaba, all those places, Temu, Amazon, Sigma Sports, Merlin, whoever it is. Anyway, there is a huge market for cheap Chinese wheels and behind me is no exception. So those are Superteam H2 wheels. On some Facebook forums, I've seen people claim they've bought them for 500 quid or less, which is a bargain. However, those ones, I think if you were to pay the taxes and have everything delivered the legal way and not have any coupons, you'd be spending about 800 quid. Still not a huge amount of money. How do they compare to these, which are the 9 Velo CD wide wheels? Now, if you've watched my video on these wheels, you'll know that I think these are the best wheels around. I explained in there why, but what is the difference? So a lot of it, on the face of it, you wouldn't think there was a difference, but there is. And today we're going to find out. So this is the Superteam H2 wheel set. It's like a wavy rim profile, a bit like the Princeton carbon work, and it's got this shark skin kind of texture on there for aerodynamic purposes, and you know it mounts the bike no problem, and you'd say, oh yeah, fine, no issues, we'll carry on. This is the back one. Excuse the puncture because I got a bit leery going over a set of train tracks and we got a snake bite puncture. And for comparative purposes, this is the 9 Velo CD65 version 2 wide, and this one's the one with the titanium free hub. Now, when you buy the Superteam wheels, you get the wheels, so the front and the back, and they come with this quality control label, which even though they are disc wheels, is designed for a rim brake. So we've got the brake pads there and the gap. And then in here is the final inspection chart. So we've got axial and radial skid, guarantees perfect alignment of the wheel to assure smooth rolling, hub centering, spoke tension, axle smoothness, aesthetic control, and wheel builder signature 3. And the same thing on the other wheel, and it's wheel build signature 5. And then this is the spares box. So we've got some spare spokes with nipples, and then a manual, and they're valve extenders. So if we have a look in the manual comes in several different languages. Yeah, the manual, I wouldn't say is, I mean the English translation isn't the best, and it's almost looks a bit amateurish. But then again, I can't speak any Mandarin or Cantonese, so I can hardly cope. But yeah, it says, oh God, enter the rim, the tyre on the rim. So I think it's supposed to say centre. And then, yeah, you keep going. There's all sorts of spelling and grammar errors, and then here's a favourite one, local low. I think it's supposed to say law. But anyway, so there you go. So that's AliExpress manual. I guess here the translation is a lot better. But at least it comes with a manual, because a lot of them don't. So this is the rim, and on the face of it, it looks like everything else out there. Okay, so there's a bit of a shape difference. So the front wheel is the one I've taken off, and on the periphery we've got hooked rim, this sort of shark skin kind of finish, which I mean when I tested aerodynamic I couldn't find a difference between having it or not. And then the second component are these divots, which well, I guess the Princeton Carbon Works and Zip had an argument over. And then finally it is radially laced on this side and cross-laced on the disc brake side, so the non-drive side. The hub doesn't have any cover over it. So in the event of the spoke losing tension, it will pop out. Now I haven't had that happen, but you know, people do complain about that happening. On this particular hub, you don't actually need to move it very far for it to come out. So 0.5 mil, possibly, and it will pop out. There's hardly any sort of retention in there. It's not going to move very far, and then it'll squeeze. Some of them have about 3 or 4 mil before they pop out, but that one, yeah, as soon as the head goes above it, I think that'll pop. So this one's the 9 Velo. So the first thing you can see is this has no ripple pattern. It's a uniform section across, and then we also have the metal nipples and the carbon spokes, just like the other one, through to the hub. The 9 Velo front and rear wheels, so this one is the back wheel, have cross-lacing on both sides, so they are quite a bit stiffer than anything out there. The hub on this one is a completely different setup. So you've got complete retention. So if the spoke does lose tension, it won't come out. It has to be basically undone for it to be pulled out. The other thing is the 9 Velo, this particular one, has a titanium hub. This has been used for quite a lot of miles, and there's no marks on it at all. It's in pristine condition. Getting the tyres on and off is not too much of an issue with these wheels. Let's get this tyre off so you can see inside. My real hate with these wheels, if there's one thing more than anything, is the rim tape is rubbish. Okay, it don't cost much to put new rim tape, but it regularly folds over when you're trying to get the tyre on, and that's just a general pain in the rear end. The bed profile, I do not think will allow you to use a tubeless tyre. Don't quote me on that. Couldn't find from Superteam, but there you go. I've been using just normal tubes and hooked tyres. Front hub, the cap comes off just like all the other ones, and we've got an O-ring in the centre section just to hold it in, and then 2 ribs that go around the outside to act like a bit of a labyrinth. It's not really a labyrinth because the clearance is a bit big. The bearing is a no-name ceramic bearing, and this is one of those things where there's a difference which you can't see, which is the fit between the bearing and the hub. On the other wheel, the 9 Velo wheel, that fit is a bit better. Something that I forgot to mention are the spokes. So they're both carbon spokes. This is a Superteam spoke in my hand, and the 9 Velo spoke attached to the wheel. They look similar, but the 9 Velo spoke is probably 30 or 40% wider on the chord length, so this is quite a bit more aerodynamic even at a local level. At the rear hub level, there isn't really much of a contest, and obviously you're paying for it, but the 9 Velo has a titanium free hub that's been machined out with a ratchet ring on the inside. The Superteam has a 54 tooth ratchet, so it's a finer engagement than this one. This might be a bit tricky to see, but on the Superteam wheel you can just about make out the ridiculously fine tooth ratchet. So that's your 54 teeth. So this hub, the Superteam hub, has I guess lightening measures employed. So you've got the holes cut out, and then the spokes are well cross-laced on the drive side and then radially laced on the non-drive side. The spoke positioning is not with as wide stance as you possibly could have, but it's by no means the narrowest. Right, let's do the weight. So we've got the back wheel first. That is 739. Just zoom in. Oops. There we go. 737, 739. And the front wheel is 613. So it's not a heavy wheel set by any means. And I'm not suggesting that a wider wheel is more aerodynamic. It's not. But these ones are like 33mm wide. If you've made it this far in the video, you're probably thinking, why would I spend a little bit more on these over these? Well, 90% of the difference is stuff that you can't see. So keep watching. Oh, look at my hair. This is what happens when you have a cut and blow that's dry. Right, this is the presentation. Let's just check the pen is working because the hooligan elements have returned. There's my tagline. Superteam H2 engineering breakdown by Hambini, aged 5. Right, let me show you the Superteam's website. This is the Superteam website. I mean, you can have a look through here. I mean, it's all there. Click on whichever wheel set you want. I'll just click it randomly on that one. It's got all the tyre pressure limits, pressures, weights, everything that you could imagine. Not a lot really wrong with that. One thing I would point out, and it is quite important, is their prices include all the tax. So if you buy from the website, you don't have to add any more. The other alternative is you could go on here, which is the cesspit of cheapness, worse than the worst flea market you've ever seen, AliExpress, where the same kind of wheels are at ridiculous prices. So some of these wheels, £301 delivered. I'm not even sure how that is even doable. And obviously lots of people have bought these because there's 143 that have been sold. And it's sold by the official Superteam store, so you're buying it from a reputable place. This is the test certificate for the wheel. Now, there's a few things on here which, you could probably say are, I don't know, not quite as good as they could be. There's a bit of runout in the rim. Where's the pen? It's not massive, and people probably wouldn't care about it, and I'm just pointing it out because it's not zero. Tension all the way around, it is within their range of spoke tension. All these carbon wheels have very high spoke tension, so you need to be aware of that. It makes the wheel a bit stiffer when you ride it, and it also influences the critical speed. So the speed at which the speed wobble kicks in will change, so it's just natural frequency. There's the fits and tolerances, and then there's the Aero. If you want the full breakdown, you can have a look on Patreon. Right, this is my chart, which is probably wrong, table, which is probably wrong. On the left, we've got Superteam, which I've labelled as cheap Chinese. I'm probably doing that as them a disservice, but you'll see where this is going. Premium Chinese, which I've gone 9 Velo. I mean, I could have put premium Chinese in there as Roval or Envy or Reserve, or there's a load of other manufacturers that you could put in there. If you were to take that, in the proper context of what I mean with it, it'd probably put Elite or Windspace in there. But anyway, you see where I'm going with this. And then Western Aero douchebag. So for that, I've put down Aero Coach because they were on the channel. Their hub was like a disaster. Go and have a look at the video if you want to see engineering shiteness of the highest order. And then the cost, well, you've just seen the cost on AliExpress, so it is probably cheaper. The 9 Velo is like $1,200, and the same thing for about the Elites. So let's put an Elite in there as well. The drive 2 wheels. And then the Western Aero douchebag, 2,500 quid. And remember, that is in quid for their wheels. Now, that value might be wrong, but that's because I'm dyslexic. Right, made in by, so China, in the UK, by a moron. Right. Just to be clear, the hub that was on this channel is almost famous in engineering circles within the United Kingdom because it's just so bad. So bad. Carbon, steel. Again, that might be wrong, but I don't really give a shit, right? And then Aero, good but over exaggerated. So this shark skin stuff that's on there, I mean, there probably is a difference, but you're gonna have to be in a particular scenario to get it. So it'd be like if you had really trick suspension on your car that allowed it to go around corners at very, very high speed, i.e. super stiff coney suspension, and then you took it off road, you'd be in the wrong kind of area. And that's the same kind of thing that I'm trying to get at, okay? So there's probably a range in which the Aero work. Turbo lag's a great example. Nothing, and then 3,500 RPM, boom. That's the range, okay? Really, you want range across your riding range. That's not the same for everybody. Good for the 9 Velo and also the Elite. And then the Aero, I mean, they just flood my fucking Facebook profile with stuff about them being Aero experts. Hub, average. Well, I think I've done Superteam a bit of a disservice there. I'd say it was above average, but I can't be bothered to change it now. The 9 Velo is excellent, and you can see that hub in other places as well. The H-Works hub, crap. Mechanical integrity. The Superteam, again, I've put passable. I think for 99% of people, you'd say that was okay, good. And then excellent for the 9 Velo. You're going to have to go and measure those things or be experienced in taking some of those measurements to realise it's good. Crap. Mixed warranty, mainly because I've put mixed there because, well, I don't even know why I put mixed. Some people have had some problems with them, but I think the vast majority have not. I don't really hear much about problems with 9 Velo, but again, who knows? And then Elite as well. Not really had so much about them. And then yeah, we've got the first-hand experience with the Aero douchebags. Right, runout. Now this is one of the things that I check frequently. So this is a perfect wheel. Everything's symmetrical and everything is through the middle. So bollocks, fuck. That's supposed to be a centre line. Okay, fucking hell. Right, there we go. And everything's supposed to be lined up. This is a hub with runout. So the axle is through the middle, but the periphery of the hub isn't. Yeah. And now if you look at this spoke here, which I've highlighted in black arrow, and this one here, you see this one is considerably longer than this one. And that's because you've got runout in the hub. That causes some of the spokes to be longer than the others. So if I erase all the ink on here, this spoke is longer than this spoke. Okay. Both wheels at the periphery, so where you would measure on your Park Tools jig, are 0 at the rim, but this wheel is way superior. Now, to be clear, I have exaggerated this just so I could show you. The difference might be like half a mil. I mean, if it's a mil, that's pretty bad, but half a mil, which is 20 thou, I've seen that. That's pretty rubbish. If you buy a H-Works, it's basically 0. Now, there is some tolerance in the spokes, the nipples, and the feed points where the spokes go through, and attachment points, because they're not all perfect. So you have got a bit of wiggle there, but in the hub, that's what you're looking at. Now, the wheel on the right, and these are the things that aren't immediately apparent, the hub with runout, so the one that's not mechanically as good, will have higher inherent vibration. So if you're riding along and you go from one wheel to the other, back to back, you would notice the difference. But if you did it in isolation, you'd probably just think of it as road noise. I also want to point out that a lot of the vibration that comes out from modern wheels is self-inflicted. So if you put tubeless sealant into the wheel and then leave it for, and a lot of people do this, they leave their bikes for 2 or 3 weeks, air inevitably gets in there and it causes the sealant to congeal, and it causes the wheel to go out of balance, and that causes vibration that you feel as road noise. And to compensate from that, people put bigger tires on. But anyway, so it's more likely to go out of true if you have that. all right? I don't know many bike shops that measure in there because you want that to be 0 before you 0 the rest of it. Right, the little tidbits, they're good. They are cheap. You've obviously seen on their website, and you can also get them from AliExpress. And I would say they are pretty decent for the money. I mean, I went into this thinking these are going to be garbage, but they weren't. Decent specification, and the Aero is good. It's not what they claim. Maybe I haven't tested to what they claim, but say, you know, for the 50mm that they are, that it's okay. Now the bad, I don't know why. Well, the Chinese translation to English is shite. It's comical because people will pick that out and then single it out and say, oh yeah, that is crap because of that. It's not really, it's just something they put into the box to make it look or appear more high quality. That's fine if you get someone to do the English translation for you. Now this is a contradiction, you see, because I put Aero is good here, but the sharkskin Aero is unproven. So that sort of rippled effect on the wheel, I'm not sure that does anything. I don't know if it does. So yeah, bear that in mind. Just so I don't confuse people. If that's the wheel and that's the tire on top, you've got Aero like that, yeah, which is predominantly pressure based. And then if you're looking at the wheel sideways, which I haven't got a picture of, you've got these sharkskin. Oh God, I can't draw it. It looks like that on the surface of the wheel. And that's applied on this surface here. Now it's to do with boundary layer. I say it's to do with boundary layer. I think it's to do with boundary layers. So if you have a turbulent boundary layer, it tends to stick more, keeps the air held more, which is why golf balls are dimpled. So a normal golf ball, a dimpled golf ball, the detachment point, the air comes along here, goes around, and the detachment point's there. Yeah, it sticks. If you take away the dimples, the air comes around and then detaches there. So in here you've got pressure drag, but you've got a much bigger area of negative, subatmospheric, no, is it subatmospheric? It's just negative pressure. I'll call it negative pressure. It's just a lower pressure that's like trying to pull you back. Right, and it's not the absolute lightest, and that's one of the things when you buy the budget wheels, you are typically going to have to sacrifice something, and that's the weight. One of them's the weight. Overall, I mean, they're not perfect, but they are good for the money, and I think it's hard to deny that. I mean, I went into this thinking these are going to be, you know, absolute rubbish. I'm going to ream them, but they're not, and that's me being objective. And I think most people will be pretty pleased with the wheels, and there are plenty of people who have used these wheels. So there you go. Right, questions, comments, please comment below. Remember to like and subscribe. Follow me on Instagram and the website, hambini.com, and also on Patreon. Right, if you did enjoy that video, remember to keep smashing your hairdresser, and as always, keep banging them. I've messed that up. Right, see you later. Bye. I'll forgive up.